From a neutral position, perform a bunny hop and lean back slightly to ensure your rear wheel hits the barrel. As soon as you hit it, perform another quick bunny hop and keep holding gas. There's an alternate approach if you're having trouble with the two bunny hop technique. I find this less consistent, but it'll be easier to do. From the start, lean backwards and accelerate at 100%. Manage your lean so the rear wheel hits the barrel as shown here, and when the wheel is toward the top of the barrel, lean forward. Just remember to quickly sit back on your bike once you're in the air to avoid catching your rear wheel. From a seated position, lean backwards and accelerate at 100%. Just as you hit the broken concrete ramp, lean forward and maintain full gas. There are two things to focus on. Firstly, make sure your rear wheel makes smooth contact with the ramp, then pay attention to your front wheel. Adjust your leaning slightly if required to ensure that your front wheel lifts off the ramp a bit. Now the most important element of this obstacle is to ease off the gas as you get to the top. Once you get about halfway up the ramp and your front wheel is lifted slightly, let go of the gas and lean forward. You'll see the front wheel come back down and your momentum will carry you over the barrels at the top. If you're having trouble, try applying the brake as your back wheel hits the barrels and it'll help you roll forward quicker. From a neutral position, perform a very quick transition to the ramp and ensure that you're applying gas at 100% and that you're leaning forward. Make sure you adjust your leaning so that the rear wheel meets the curved beam. Keep leaning forward and gently apply the gas to maintain grip and get to the next checkpoint. Do not, under any circumstances, lean back or move the rider's position while in the air. When you start out, this will be a really difficult technique to consistently get through, and it'll be because you're moving too much in the air or you're not getting your rear wheel down. Give the gas a small squeeze, just enough to land comfortably on the car below. Tap the brake and you should be able to steady yourself while the car is moving. Anticipate how the bike will bounce when the car lands and adjust accordingly. This is an easy checkpoint if you take it slow and plan your landing, so just experiment a bit. Once you're at the bottom, bunny hop over the barrels and you're done. From a seated position, accelerate at 100% and lean backwards. You want to get about halfway up the ramp with your front wheel slightly in the air. Next, you want to lean forward, ensuring that your front wheel just misses the vertical section of the ramp. As soon as you lean forward, quickly lean backwards again and try to get your rear wheel to also miss the vertical section. Depending on how you've timed the first two movements, you'll need to then adjust your landing so that your rear wheel hits the ramp and you can lean forward to steady yourself if needed. This is all about timing, so just practice until you can get this consistently. To finish this checkpoint, either drop down onto the flat wooden planks or jump over the whole thing. Lean backwards from the start and ensure your front wheel doesn't hit the small ramp. Manage your leaning in the air so that you land with your rear wheel slightly earlier than the front and make solid contact with the rear wheel. It's important to only lean forward when you're about to hit the ramp and to use the gas very gently, only enough to slowly climb the ramp and not to flip backwards. You'll only need to use the gas at about 10 to 20% to climb this, and if your front wheel lifts, try even less. This is a skill you'll need to master, so be sure you practice the landing on a slope lesson in-game. Sometimes you'll find yourself stuck at the top of the ramp if you go too slowly. Don't panic, as this is easy to fix. Ease off the gas so you start to roll backwards, but when you get your front wheel back on the steep section, press the gas and you'll make it over. This checkpoint looks really complicated, but it's actually quite easy. All you need to do is press gas and lean backwards at just the right amount. Start from a seated position and press the gas at 100%. Lean back quite a bit on the first barrel, as your front wheel dips down a bit when you hit it. Keep applying the gas while managing your leaning as required. It is possible to perform multiple rear wheel hops over these barrels, but if you're watching this tutorial, I suspect that may be a little too advanced for you. Start in a seated position and apply about 50% gas to land on the orange and white slope. Gently apply the gas and roll backwards so that you can use all of the ramp. When your rear wheel is toward the end of the ramp, start accelerating slowly initially, but quickly build up speed so that you get to 100%. Accelerate enough so that your front wheel starts to lift up, and when you're at the end of the ramp, lean forward. The most important thing is to make sure that your front wheel has lifted enough so that when you do lean forward, you clear the jump and not smash into the wall. Once you've done this, just adjust your leaning and land safely on the other side. This obstacle is best done in two parts. The first is riding over the suspended platforms in one smooth motion. Then the next is to steady yourself before climbing the last ramp. Getting the right speed and angle here is tricky, so I'd suggest looking for a consistent way to get it right. Roll backwards while in a seated position until the edge of your rear wheel crosses over the light-colored wooden ramp and then stop. Accelerate at 100%, and when you hit the top of the ramp, lean forward. While in the air, sit back and you should be able to land with both wheels on the suspended platform. As soon as you land, perform a consecutive bunny hop by remaining seated and quickly performing another small bunny hop. If you land the second jump while seated, you can just accelerate through the third gap and onto the second part of the obstacle. I've covered this in the landing on a slope lesson, so you should know how to rotate the bike in the air so that the wheels land at the same time while in a seated position. Just as you're about to hit the slope, lean forward and gently apply gas. Throttle control is important to ensure that you don't flip backwards. Get it right, and you can just ride up the ramp and complete the checkpoint. When you play Trials a lot, you'll start to notice similar obstacles. The developers decorate them differently, but this is almost identical to Checkpoint 4, so the technique is nearly the same. Start in a seated position and accelerate at 100%. Lean backwards to lift the front wheel and ensure it doesn't touch the steep middle section of the ramp. As soon as the rear wheel gets to the top of the rusted beam, lean forward and get your rear wheel to hit the steep middle section. While in the air, sit back on your bike and land in a seated position. Carefully manage the gas to avoid rolling backwards off the ramp. What you should do next is roll back a little, just to get some room to move, then quickly accelerate. The front wheel should lift up, and you should lean forward to get over the last part of the obstacle. Like Checkpoint 1, there are two ways to do this obstacle. My preference is to perform a small bunny hop and to get up onto the wooden pallet and then perform a larger bunny hop to reach the barrels. If that's too technical for you, then the other option is to lean backwards from the start while accelerating at 100% and then lean forward once your rear wheel is in the middle of the wooden pallet. I find this a lot less consistent, but if you're struggling, it may be easier for you. Once on the blue barrels, just roll forward to complete the checkpoint. We don't really teach you how to deal with overhangs in the in-game lessons, so this may be a new technique for you and you may be struggling with this one. The good news is that this can be a very easy and consistent obstacle with the right technique. Start by leaning forward over the handlebars, as this will help you rotate the bike at the speed required to get over this. Then, what I want you to do is accelerate at 100% while also leaning backwards. Do that for a fraction of a second and you'll see the front wheel lift off the ramp. Quickly lean forward when your rear wheel is about halfway up the ramp and your momentum should get you over. I find that letting go of the gas at the top of the ramp can help you, and you can also hold the brake when you're right at the top of the ramp to assist with spinning your bike over the overhang. So hopefully you found that useful, and if you've got any suggestions or questions or anything you want to discuss, leave some notes in the comments and I'm happy to address them later on. What I'm going to do now is actually play through a replay that I did while I was recording this tutorial, just so you get a feel for not only how I approach the different techniques, but how I've linked some of them together, because that's one of the evolutions of this, right? My tutorials are about getting you to just pass each checkpoint one by one. But as your skills progress, what you really need to start doing is transitioning from one jump to the other, connecting those lines, planning your landing so you're in the right, bike and body position to enable you to connect the next jump and to be in the right spot to continue on. That's really where this game gets fun. So yeah, watch the rest of this, let me know what you like, and if you want any other videos or any guidance on any parts of the game, let me know. Thanks.